Good morning. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Today is Wednesday, April 10th, 2024, and I'm realizing I'm kind of bright this morning. But welcome to the Java Cafe. As we have done the past couple of years, we are back this morning for Waterfront Wednesday. For this year, we are doing the even months. We had February, we're here in April, and we have a couple of folks with us that are getting ready to talk with us about just their relationship to the water, the work they do in both of their organizations, as well as Earth Day is coming up on Monday, April 22nd, 2024. We actually have some information to update you toward the end about that for some things that we're doing. But I would like to introduce to some and present to others, Allie from the Esplanade Association, and also Ryan Smith from the Charles River Watershed Association. I think I got that right. And so welcome to the Java Cafe, both of you. Those of you that are used to, that watch Java with Jimmy every day, you see there's a little difference in the background there. We are highlighting water, the importance of inclusion there, and also diversity of use and different things like that. And so without further ado, Allison, please introduce yourself, say hello to the Java with Jimmy audience, and we'll talk with Ryan as well, and then we'll jump right in, talk about your relationship to the water, and then what both of you are doing in your organizations, and what both of you are doing for Earth Day coming up in just a couple of weeks. So, Allie, say good morning.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much, James, for having us. It's great to be back on Java with Jimmy. I'm the Director of Projects and Planning at the Esplanade Association. We are a nonprofit that partners with the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation to sustain and revitalize and bring free community programs to the 64-acre Charles River Esplanade in downtown Boston.
Absolutely. Welcome again, and thank you for being with us today. And Ryan, please introduce yourself as well.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm Ryan. I'm the Volunteer and Outreach Coordinator for the Charles River Watershed Association. We're also an environmental nonprofit focused on protecting, restoring, and enhancing the Charles River and its surrounding watershed and communities.
Thank both of you, you, Ryan, for being here. And so, Ryan, we'll start with you. Tell us your relationship to the water. How important is the water to you in whatever perspective you would like to present? And then you can tell us also about the work that you're doing at CRWA. By the way.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, my relationship to water is, I love water. I went to school for environmental science, and I think water quality was kind of my, personal passion when I was studying. And so, working with an organization like CRWA, we focus on water quality, making sure that it's a healthy river. And I'm also just, an avid recreational user of water. I like to walk by the river. I live near the Charles myself. In the summer, I like to kayak on the river if I have the time. I grew up in a more rural area, so I really appreciate kind of any aspect of nature that I can find, in the city.
Absolutely. And then what is, tell us a little bit about the association. What do you do? What is the work that's being done there specifically around the waterfront?
Yeah, so like I said, our mission is to protect, restore, and enhance the Charles River, and so we do that through advocacy in the law. So we do a lot of environmental science work. So we collect data on the river, and we then use that data to then push bills and advocacy work with local towns and other organizations. So we're not doing just research for the sake of research. All of our research efforts are with the goal of enhancing the Charles River. We also do a lot of restoration work. And so one of our goals is to, restore the Charles River, which is a historically very urbanized river,
Mhm.
and bring that back to what it's kind of naturally supposed to be. So that could involve dam removal, invasive species removal, water quality improvements across the board. And then we also do a lot of work with flood mitigation and stormwater infrastructure. So trying to reduce flooding in areas, especially our EJ communities, and then install, green stormwater infrastructure in those areas that are most affected by flooding and stormwater runoff to, one, make the community safer for people, as well as, improve the water quality as well.
All right. Thank you so much for one telling us your relationship to the water as well as what the Esplanade Association is doing. And so, Allie, if you could remind us, your relationship to the water and what you do there and just your perspective on it. And you can speak from the inclusion piece and however you would like. But what is your relationship to the water?
Sure. Thank you, James. Let's see. I'm a New Yorker, and I grew up close to the beach, so I've always loved just going down to the beach in the summertime or even in the wintertime, just being close to the water. I know we'll talk about some of the health benefits of being close to the water. It's just such a calming experience. And, if you're not by the water every day, it can really be a chance to change your perspective. And just to be able to shake up your mindset a little bit. I just think it's a really beautiful place to release any worries that you have, and just feel the spirit of the water when you're nearby it. I think there's really magic that happens when you're close to the water. And so with the Esplanade Association, I now am really happy to be able to spend so much time by the Charles River, and in partnership with great organizations like the Charles River Watershed Association and the Charles River Conservancy, being able to help make this river one that really is able to be enjoyed by everyone in the Commonwealth, by all the birds and pollinators that visit it, all the different fish species that still use the Charles. As urbanized as it is still a working waterway, and it's one that that we're all really excited to be able to protect and to program to bring more people out to enjoy the waterfront.
Allie, let's start with you here and go right into, you mentioned the health benefits. Blue and green spaces, how important are they in general? And then you can also speak to, and we'll get Ryan's perspective as well. From an inclusion and diversity standpoint, you mentioned that some people, it's a good experience if you don't get to experience that every day. And so the work of the Waterfront Coalition is trying to increase the number of days that those that aren't typically at the waterfront, live on the waterfront, have the opportunity to take advantage of the benefits. For you, and the association, if you would like, what are some of the benefits of participating and moving and thriving in green and blue spaces?
Yeah, absolutely. I love this question. Parks and waterfront spaces are just so important for individual health. And then I think when individuals are healthier, the community is healthier and happier too. And so we each owe it to ourselves, we owe it to our families, we owe it to each other to try to get outside. I was reading up this past weekend about some studies and saw that just seeing the color green can make us calmer, make us feel more balanced. Yep. The National Institutes of Health says that green can reduce your heart rate. So just seeing these colors, when you go outside, when you go for a walk in a green space and see the trees and grass around you, you might even feel less physical exertion than you would doing the same level of exercise somewhere else. So there's just so many benefits to being in green spaces. And then on top of that, being by the water has that calming effect that I talked about. It can be that chance to just take a deep breath and let those little waves kind of carry your worries away. So, we really can't discount the health benefits that that calming moment can provide by the water, especially as the climate changes, as it becomes harder and harder to live in some of these big cities like Boston, where things are getting so expensive, things are getting so crazy coming out of the pandemic. I feel like we really saw how important green and blue spaces are. And I really don't want people to forget, as we do move past the pandemic, that keeping that habit of getting outside and having exercise time outside is so important for our health.
Absolutely. And we'll go a little deeper into what the Esplanade Association is doing in general, and then also coming up on Earth Day. And so, Ryan, from your perspective, you talk about flood mitigation, you talk about advocacy, green and blue spaces when it comes to that perspective. Why is the Charles River Association doing that? And also give us your perspective around the importance of diversity and inclusion when it comes to green and blue spaces.
Yeah, so in regards to, flood mitigation, flooding is a health hazard. It's dangerous to be in a flood area. And so if we're talking, how important are these green spaces and these blue spaces, we're finding those green stormwater infrastructure things, which are, usually additive to those green spaces, that can help reduce the flooding, is going to make those parks in those areas safer. It's going to make those communities safer, as well as, one thing we combat really heavily here in the city is the urban heat island effect. So, cities are a lot hotter than the rural areas, and having more trees, having green spaces, there's very markable differences in temperature in those areas that have them versus those that don't, in the denser parts of the city. Um, and I think in regards to diversity, you start to see those in a lot of the EJ communities.
Can you, for folks that don't know, EJ, what is the
Oh,
EJ
yes,
community?
sorry. Yeah. Environmental justice communities. So
Gotcha.
those are, communities that are more affected by climate change and the environment than others. And so those communities often have, been systemically not supported and therefore overdeveloped and weren't given the, the voices that they should have had to, advocate for themselves. Or have the chance to advocate for themselves, and so those areas were typically urbanized more, and so that's why you see that a lot in like the denser cities. They weren't given the option or weren't told that they even had the option to advocate for themselves and be like, hey, we should keep these trees, we should keep these parks areas, and they were developed. And so it's very important, for those communities and those voices to be heard, and in these green spaces.
All right, thank you for that. Ali, let me ask you in reference to what Ryan was saying about advocacy and danger. The diversity and inclusion, I really believe the Waterfront Coalition is definitely pushing the use of, but can you talk to the importance of those that are typically impacted by the inequities? How important is it that when Ryan and them are going to the State House and when they're advocating, how important is it that communities of color be very proactive in supporting the work that both of your associations are doing?
Yeah, thanks, James. The thing for me is that there's so many different ways to get involved. There's so many different levels of involvement. People have different amounts of time, different amounts of bandwidth, but I think everybody really has a role to play. On one level, it's up to our city and state agencies to make space for everyone to learn more, not just to give feedback, but to really be active participants in these design processes for new projects, for new programs, so that the community is really heard from. It can't just be for us without being by us. And the hard part, I think, is trying to connect from these big agencies out to individual people in their homes and in their communities. And I think that's where organizations like the Charles River Watershed Association and the Coalition for a Resilient and Inclusive Waterfront and the Esplanade Association, we want to help make that connection between these big agencies and people who care and who can bring the word to their communities, spread the word about upcoming projects, and give people those opportunities to connect and participate. So, it sounds simple, but from the individual level, I think Googling around, just looking up some of the city and state agencies, they have lists of active projects. Your elected officials know what projects are coming up and which need community input. So signing up for some of those listservs, getting in touch with your city council members and state reps, so that you make sure you don't miss these public meetings and public comment periods, opportunities to really speak up, because the experience living and working and being a part of these communities is so valuable. And just as a project manager, as a career project manager, I've seen time and time again that we have the best product at the end when you hear from the people who will benefit from the project the most. And often, you hear from top stakeholders, you hear from project funders, and you're not hearing from the people who will actually get out there to enjoy the end product as much as you should be. So it really, these agencies have a real incentive to hear from everyone. And we just, as organizations who advocate for these projects and advocate for community benefits, we have to be there to help make that connection.
Thank you so much for that. Ryan, what's an example? Two questions that kind of popped in my mind when Ali was talking. One was, can you cite for us a recent incident where flooding might have been an issue here in locally? And then two, just share a couple of things that your agency is working on. So right now in real time folks can have information. I'll put the link in the website, to get to both of your websites. But I'm just curious I just thought about it. The last couple of weeks, there's been some interesting weather and things. And so maybe you can cite an example that's local that makes this real for folks about the importance of advocacy when it comes to green and blue spaces.
Yeah. I don't work fully on a lot of our direct advocacy work. I work with our volunteers and those members. So I definitely will say, if you're looking to get to know more about our exact policies and things that we're working on, our website, our advocacy page is very up to date, and we always have events going on in there. As far as for recent flooding, I was just doing some site visits with a couple of colleagues of mine. We have a flood model that we work on that helps model which areas are going to most be affected by flooding. And so we were doing site assessments to see what areas might benefit the most from some green stormwater infrastructure, essentially. And we were in the town of Needham, which not Boston, but pretty local as well. And I think back in August, they were talking about they had some pretty devastating flooding. I think up to 150, 200 homes, experienced some major flooding issues. And so now there as a town, that's kind of becoming their main focus, and they're really looking into how can we improve our stormwater infrastructure? What can we do to, make sure that this doesn't happen again? Because, with climate change, the Northeast is expected to get more intense rainstorms. More rain per storm is going to start happening. And, we have in Massachusetts a lot of really old stormwater infrastructure, and that just can't handle that right now.
All right.
And, I will say one of the things that we're working on right now is, we do a lot of work that is anti CSOs, which is combined sewage overflows. And so that's when stormwater and sewage water mix and they get discharged into the river. So we have our new CS-No program that we've just started to launch.
It's interesting because due to the pandemic, I got signed up for the City of Boston's emergency notification. And I get a notification when we get those torrential rains and things like that. I actually just saw, I think there's another storm coming in the next few days. I thought I saw something pop up with the notification. And so I see that in real time, that where they send out the notification that says the CSO or CSO, what is it again?
Yes. Yeah, CSO, combined sewer overflow.
So see, we learned something new here today. That happens more often than not, that notification goes out. And so thank you for naming the old infrastructure. And one of the things you're working on, as well as, the important piece. And we just wanted to make sure that you all knew where to go get information, particularly around the advocacy piece. And Ali, I'll allow you to speak to anything you're doing as well, where folks can find out on the website. But crwa.org is the website to go get information about their current advocacy projects. Ali, before we come back to you, and we're going to hear from both of you about what you're doing around Earth Day, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back with you.
I'm a very sensitive person, and I feel the pain of my people. They know me, they call on me, and I assure them that I'm not a provider, but I am one who cares. I always say to them, well, it's better to know than not to know, because if you know, you can do something about it. Think about the loved ones around you. Think about the ones that love seeing you come through that door. Take the step and get tested. That's it.
Save lives and get screened for colon cancer. For more information, visit boston.gov/cancer.
Hey everyone, we are back with our guest Ryan from the Charles River Watershed Association, and also Ali from the Esplanade Association. And so there's a day coming up in a couple of weeks. I probably will date myself, but I do remember, I remember the first Earth Day. I don't know what annual Earth Day it is, but it's in the beginning there was a lot of hype around it, a lot of events locally, nationally, internationally. And so I wanted to hear from both of you what you're planning for Earth Day. And Ali, we'll start with you, and then Ryan, we'll hear what you're doing as well. And as we're talking to both of them, I will put their websites up on the screen as well, so you can screenshot that, and I'll also put them in the comments where they will be actively hyperlinked. And so, Ali, what's going on Monday, April 22nd, or anywhere around there for Earth Day?
Thanks, James. Well, our 25th annual Charles River Cleanup is coming up. It's the weekend before Earth Day on April 19th and April 20th. So this is the 25th edition of the local Boston area cleanup as part of the National American Rivers Cleanup. And so here in Boston, that's administered by our friends at the Department of Conservation and Recreation. And we do it in partnership with the Charles River Watershed Association. And thanks to Ryan for all his work coordinating volunteers for CRWA. They're a huge partner for the Charles River Cleanup, as well as the Charles River Conservancy, the Emerald Necklace Conservancy, and the Waltham Land Trust. So all together, including the Esplanade, we're covering thousands of acres of waterfront and parkland together on April 19th and April 20th. So there's still open spots. If folks want to come out to volunteer, you can go to charlesrivercleanup.org to register for free. Last year on the Esplanade, we picked up over 4,000 pounds of trash. This year, we're trying to pick up over 5,000. So we hope folks come out to join us. That's really how we'll be celebrating Earth Day on the Esplanade. I just think it's a really wonderful day to give back. I like to think of Earth Day as like our anniversary with the Earth. You get to celebrate and appreciate the time that you spend together. Get to appreciate the gifts that we're given every day by the Earth, and be able to work together to give back. And I love that you mentioned how long Earth Day has been going on this year. And I think generally, Earth Day is celebrated by over 150 countries around the world. So just thinking about the impact that we can have here in Boston and around the world altogether.
Thank you so much for that. And we're going to put the active link in the comments as well. And so, Ryan, what do you guys have going on around Earth Day? And Ali, thank you. Earth Day should really be 365, like some other, spaces and affinity months and actions and whatnot. But I just wanted to highlight as well that you're doing things on the 19th and 20th. And so we're going to put that link in the comments right now. And then, Ryan, what's going on from the CRWA's perspective around Earth Day?
Yeah, so like Ali said, we do it in partnership with Esplanade Association and a few other local organizations as well. And so for CRWA's part of that, we focus a lot on the kind of greater Boston area, from like Newton all the way down to Hopkinton. So kind of really across the river. And yeah, so it's just a great day for people to get involved. I think we're having about 30 sites this year. And we've got, any year could be, from 700 to 900 volunteers for just our organization. I think this year we're looking at another like 700 people. And that's a mix of, community groups, families, individuals. And, we work with corporations, they help sponsor us, and, they help fund it all for us, but it really allows us to get people outside and do something really fun and easy at a local park or a local green space. And I think in partnership with the American Rivers program, I think nationally there's been about 25 million pounds of trash removed over the years that they've been running this. And so it really has a great effect, and people are excited every year to come back and see the difference in what their site that they were at last year is this year, and see is there less trash this year, was there more, like why might that be? And so yeah, it's a great day.
I just want to park and just it's interesting, Ali, to say that last year there were 4,000 pounds of trash, and then this year you say you hope to pick up 5,000. Now, to me, and I know the goal is to go backwards, but that is an indication that there would be more trash and litter being left on the waterfront.
Yeah.
Help me.
Yeah, this year, I don't know if it's the way that the levels of water in the river have been affected or upstream trash issues. I feel like we have seen more trash on the Esplanade this year. And so I think the impact that we can have will be even greater. Last year, I remember people coming up and saying, there was less trash this year than last year. And that is the goal, of course, that there's less trash in the river every year. But if we can get more people out there to have a bigger impact on a year where it feels like, in particular, we've seen, I think the storms recently have just had some really wacky trash in the park. I saw an entire mattress floating last week, and just being able to have an opportunity for folks to get down close to the riverfront and make an impact in that way to pull some of this stuff out and get it carried away. I think we can make a bigger impact this year. And unfortunately, it feels like a bigger impact is needed this year.
So in that, as we get ready to wrap up in a few minutes, and I want to make sure we cover everything, beyond Earth Day, we have, there are affinity months and people focus attention on different things. But I mentioned a few minutes ago that, equity and inclusion and Earth Day being 365. Allie, can you speak to the importance of this is an opportunity when a lot of plans are being made around, how they're going to address the CSO and different things like that. Can you just speak to the importance again of the diversity and inclusion at the table? You spoke to it a little bit before, but I had that thought when you were talking before that Earth Day will do the hype, folks will come out, but then on April 23rd, what are we doing?
Exactly. Yes, it really has to be Earth Day every day. Get outside every day. Some things that we're working on the Esplanade with the Esplanade Association. If you come out for Earth Day, you'll learn more about some of the projects and programs that we have going on this year. And then one of the events that I really want to highlight later this spring comes on May 19th. We will have our 4th annual Community Day, and we really see this as the kickoff to summer on the Esplanade. It's an opportunity for folks to gather at the Hatch Shell for an entire day full of fun. We start the day with a 5K just to get people out and moving. And then we'll have a free concert series, which is produced by the wonderful Ola Akinwumi of Aphrodisia City.
Oh, we know Ola.
Oh, she's wonderful.
Yep.
She's bringing together R&B artists, funk artists, DJs. We'll have free food provided by Jamaica Me Hungry. And we'll also have some community surveys. This is a real engagement opportunity for us to hear from everyone who's coming out to the Esplanade for a big special day, to be able to learn more about the projects and programs that we have coming up this year and have that active participation process. We'll also be posting some of this stuff online so that people can participate even if you can't make it out to the park. So that's really just what I want folks to come away with from today, is to find ways to get involved. Follow folks online, sign up for e-news. You can sign up for our e-news at esplanade.org and follow us on social at Esplanade in Boston, and just really try to stay plugged into some of these events, because often the outreach that's done at the state and city agency level, I know they're trying really hard. They've got a lot going on. It doesn't always feel like it reaches into Black and Brown communities as deeply as it could. And I think organizations like us and CRWA can really play that role to try to help reach deeper into Boston's communities, all the neighborhoods that maybe don't have that easy access to the waterfront. Boston's a city that's kind of hard to get around, honestly, sometimes. And so, whether it's advocating for projects that we have on the waterfront or advocating for other park projects across communities in Boston, these voices, we all need to be heard, and Black and Brown voices, especially as climate change disproportionately affects these communities.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I was getting ready to go to Ryan. I'm so sorry. I was a little bit of ahead. Sorry there. And Ryan, can you speak to that as well? Just there is an opportunity. You more work with the volunteers, but I'm sure you're aware of what the organization is doing, and this opportunity to contribute to design. How important is it for the most marginalized communities? We have Allie here. And Allie, I meant to ask you particularly about women and girls being a part of this, going into marine biology and different things. So Ryan, can you speak to that as well?
Yeah, I think kind of just echoing, what Allie said, it's just important that, our voices are heard, and that Earth Day is that opportunity for, us to reach out to everyone that we can. We do a lot of outreach to every community that we can think of, different community groups. And yeah, I think that, sorry, could you kind of phrase the question for me for a second? Sorry.
Sure. Just checking in around the importance of Beyond Earth Day. I mentioned before that, Earth Day should be 365, how we approach it, and just the importance of this opportunity. There's a lot of planning going on at the state level. There's a lot of planning going on at the city level. Various cities along the 70 some odd miles of waterfront that we have access to. And so just speaking to the importance of those folks that usually aren't heard, you mentioned that earlier, to be a part of this process beyond just Earth Day.
Yeah. So one of the things that we at CRWA kind of do is we try to act as that mediary voice. So trying to connect those different communities. So one of the things that we have is our climate compact. So that is our way of connecting different towns and communities and getting their voices heard to each other. So, we work on a watershed scale. So the Charles River doesn't necessarily care about those town borders as much. So making sure that each of those communities, when they are, doing their climate work or their tree bylaws or, or whatever the environmental laws and things that they're doing, that they are essentially, talking to each other, that what one town is doing upriver isn't going to affect the town down the river from them, because that's how rivers and watersheds work. Whatever you're doing upstream, it's going to make its way downstream eventually. And right now we're actually going through a DEI assessment with our climate compact to make sure that, we are hitting those goals, and we are making sure that the voices that need to be heard are being heard within that frame.
All right. Thank you. Ali, as we get ready to wrap up, I wanted to ask you, the Coalition for Resistant and Inclusive Waterfront, the fact that we have this organization in existence that's driving a lot of this, how important is it to keep pushing the inclusion and resilience? There's so much there, just asking that question, the inclusion of people, of ideas, the resilience against what's going on with the EJ, environmental justice, the CSO, CSO. Tell me.
You got it. I know you've got it.
Oh, hold on. Overflow. Sewage. Community. No, not community. Terrible. All right, go ahead. What's the C? I got 2 out of 3. What's
Combined.
Combined. See, I just could have combined them. All right, combined overflow. And so again, having the resilient, I say Boston Waterfront Coalition, but the crew, as they are affectionately known, how important it is that we support their work, which is a conglomerate sort of a lot of the work, and just being sort of a choir director to all the voices that are doing the work here. How important is it that this work just gets supported at every level, community and other resources?
Yes, I love calling them the choir. It just is really bringing together so many different voices, so many different organizations, individual community members who are passionate, who can help spread the word, and just kind of being that clearinghouse where we can all get together and have these important conversations, and to make sure that we are hearing from community members. I loved that the coalition hosted their waterfront summit last year in Roxbury at Roxbury Community College. That was a really wonderful event.
Yep.
And, it looked much more diverse, I will say, than some of the events that you see around the waterfront often. And that's how I think that we're able to make an impact and able to reach into communities that aren't heard from as often, because the waterfront communities in Boston, as far as I know, I'm a recent transplant here, maybe about 5 years now. And at least in my view, it seems that the communities along the waterfront have been relatively segregated from the rest of the city. And you can see that in the demographics very clearly if you look at census data of who lives in the communities around the waterfront. So being able to make that direct outreach and bring communities who maybe don't have that everyday access to the waterfront to help them get out there and have the benefits that we all should have of being by the waterfront. Additionally, I want to shout out another local organization, the Boston Harbor Women of Color Coalition. We're doing some really wonderful work with some really wonderful women leaders here in Boston, Joy Williams and Maya Smith, doing some incredible work to bring together women of color who care about the waterfront, who are passionate about community advocacy, and who have business skills to bring to the table so that we can have a space to talk about climate issues, how they're specifically affecting Black and Brown communities and Black and Brown women in particular, where around the world we're seeing some of the worst climate impacts on Black and Brown women and children. And so to have an organization here in Boston, James, as you spoke to, being able to uplift women's voices.
Come on, internet.
And the voices of
Go
women
back.
of
Hold
color
on.
here in town, and bring us together.
Allie, your internet did something, and I want to hear everything that you said about that in emphasizing women and oh crap. All right, hopefully she'll swing back through real quick. And so Ryan, I got a little excited there. As we get ready to wrap up, just that importance that, oh, Allie, you're back. Say what you said in the last minute because it froze a little bit, and you were preaching there. So you talk about the color and women. Bring it back.
Yes, I was just giving a great shout out, I hope, to the Boston Harbor Women of Color Coalition, with Maya Smith and Joy Williams and dozens of other wonderful women of color. I'm really excited to be able to join some of these events and just hearing from women of color in Boston who are passionate community advocates who want to do more to bring people to the waterfront. We're doing some swim safety programs. If you go to bwohcc.org, you can see some of the other community resources that the Boston Harbor Women of Color Coalition is putting forward. So I just think it's a really wonderful way, again, like the Coalition for a Resilient and Inclusive Waterfront, to bring together people from different organizations who don't always get together.
All right, hold on. Boston Women of Color, BWOC.
Anthony, helpfully, he's got it in the chat. The Boston Harbor Women of Color Coalition, BHWOCC.org.
You did not do me, Allie. All right, that's it. Thank you, Anthony. Where did it go that quick? All right, it's oh, there it is. Okay, so there it is right there. Anthony, thank you. There's just some stuff going on in the background where David's system is holding me down with links and everything. And so Ryan, based on what Allie said and just your observation, even in the volunteer space, getting different folks to come and volunteer and be a part. Also, that breeds participation because you're down there doing things or, being involved in different areas. And so if you could just speak to that subject as well.
Yeah, I think, from my, my volunteer perspective, I think, or volunteer coordinating perspective, I think it's so important. One of the things I was really surprised by when I first started working here was for one of our programs, our monthly monitor program, where, once a month we have about 80 volunteers go and collect a water sample from the river. And that's been going on for about 29 years now. And it collects really important water quality data for us that we use, for throughout all of our work. I was really, the diversity of the age ranges of our volunteers for that was something that I was initially really surprised by. We have people that are, in their retired years, looking for something to do every month to keep them active, all the way down to, I have high schoolers that are volunteering, waking up at before 6 a.m. every month for me to collect a water sample. And so I think that just kind of highlights, how the breadth of interest that the environmental world can bring to people, and how, at all levels and all stages, there are ways for you to get involved. And I think organizations like CRWA, Esplanade Association, and others are really doing their best to, make sure that those are equitable and accessible by everyone. And so, yeah, that I think was definitely, for me, the most surprising thing initially.
That's definitely good to hear, because our young people, we're well, there's a varying age, there's a diverse age here as well, so I'll just leave that right there. It's important to have young people's voice, because when you talk about marginalized communities, it's not just in life experience, lifestyle, ethnicity. It is also sometimes in this thing we used to call in youth work called ageism, that, young people sometimes are to be seen and not heard. But listen, 20 years from now, they're going to be the ones in the most impacted. Their children, they're looking for where they're going to raise their families. And so it's great to hear that there's that diversity with young people as well. And so I want to thank both of you for being with us today. We just want to remind everyone of a few links and where you can go to get more information. First of all, I want to thank Allie from esplanade.org. For coming in and sharing information, and also making us aware of the Boston Women of Color. Go ahead, Allie.
Boston Harbor Women of
Boston
Color
Harbor.
Coalition.
Yep, that one right there. And also, if you want to get more information around what they're doing for Earth Day, their events around the 19th and 20th, and there's a community day as well. The 19th and 20th is the Esplanade cleanup, and you can go to esplanade.org/cleanup for that. And then more information about the community day, same at esplanade.org/community day. And then also to find out more information about the Charles River Watershed Association. Ryan, you okay? You could go to crwa.org, and also to find more information about what they're doing around Earth Day as well. You can go to charlesrivercleanup.org. They're doing an event as well. And I think I got this one here. You can get more information about all of their events at that link there. And so thank both of you for being here. I just want to remind folks again that though, the world designates Monday, April 22nd as Earth Day, that we should always treat our Earth. And in this vein, and today, particularly around the waterfront, we talk about the benefits of it, but we need to benefit the waterfront by taking care of it, not littering, and treating Mother Earth as well as we can. And so thank both of you for being here. And also I wanted to remind, well, I'll do that in the background. I'll let y'all go, probably have meetings and things. But again, thank both of you for being here. I want to thank our partners and supporter, the Coalition for Resilient Inclusive Waterfront. Our next episode will take place the second Wednesday in June. And that's the episode right before Waterfront Week, Wellness Week. So we're definitely looking forward to that. So again, thank you both, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you. We'll see you on the Esplanade.
Absolutely. Thank you. Give my friend Chris Coy some love as well. He's Greenway, kind of on the other side, but I'm sure you all talk.
It's close. One day we'll connect.
Okay.
Sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Ryan and Allie. So folks, I just wanted to mention and ask you to keep in mind some dates. They're not official as of yet, but the last couple of years, somewhere around the late teens to the mid 20s of June, we have Waterfront Wellness Week. And so keep those dates in mind. There will be a signature Java with Jimmy event. We're working in the background. Actually, this year, we're I hope I don't get in trouble. We're kind of looking at two. So there's a lot going on there. Also wanted to mention to you that with one of the partners that is a part of the Waterfront Coalition Museum of Science, there's some things coming up with them as well that taps into sort of some of the marine biology and different type of species, not only on the waterfront, but just in general. So that is it. Hey, everybody, look who's in the room. Pops, you got some folks in here praying for you. There's whole conversations and thanks and people keeping up. So Pops, it is good to see you in the room. This is the dad of one of our leaders in the coalition crew. Coalition for a Resilient and Inclusive Waterfront. We call them crew. So good to see you in, Pops Davis. Anthony and the whole team, thank you so much for the support in the background. Don't forget the second Wednesday in June is the next episode of Waterfront Wednesdays. And keep in mind also, we'll get more information out about the dates, but around the mid-teens of June and also through the mid-20s is Waterfront Wellness Week here in the city of Boston, and just some different things around other parts on the outskirts of Boston as well. Waterfront Wellness Week, I got the official dates here, is taking place. I'm going to put it right here so you all can know and take a screenshot. I have the official dates. I was just being cautious because y'all know I'm a little fast. Waterfront Wellness Week is starting on Saturday, June 15th, and going through Monday, June 24th. And so please keep those dates in mind. Waterfront Wellness Week will take place this year, Saturday, June 15th through Monday, June 24th. So you'll be updated about those events and different activities as we go along, and especially when we come back in the second Wednesday in June to talk with folks. Anthony Kip, you know what? All right, this is Coalition's show today, so I'll behave. But I just believe that Pops is going. All right, I'm getting off of here. Listen, you all have a wonderful day. We appreciate our partnership with the Coalition for a Resilient and Inclusive Waterfront, and we look forward to seeing you, Pops, here for that event. Miss Teresa, I will eat and drink. Thank you all for being here today. We'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. We're going to catch up with just yours truly, the award ceremony, going down to Foxwoods with Grace by Nia. We have a few things to catch up on. So we will see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Have a great day, everybody, and we will talk to you soon. Peace.